People, today we are turning these dated thrift store finds into some high-end farmhouse upcycles. People, check out this clock. It was only $3, so I had to grab it. We're going to take it apart though and get all the bits out of it, like this battery that we have no idea how old it is. Okay. Now it's time to gather all the pieces that we're going to need to turn this clock into a wall shelf hanger thingy decor piece. And I grabbed this from Hobby Lobby. It was on sale. You know, they got their little sales, but the original price tag was $2.99. I had this piece laying around that I grabbed from some local store that I seen. It was only 99 cents. I'm like, yeah, we're going to grab this. It's a piece of solid wood. Why not? I can absolutely turn this into something else. To remove the little stickers, I'm just using my heat gun and a little clay tool to peel the suckers off. If you got some glue gun and want to use that after you take that off, go right ahead. I felt like this was good enough. And here is our big piece of wood that I cut down to size to house the clock and to set our shelf piece on. We're going to paint all of these up using some Waverly's white chalk paints. And people, of course, use whatever chalk paint makes you feel fuzzy inside. I like the result Waverly gives me 99% of the time. And plus, I'm still out of my Dixie Belle white. Anyhow, moving on. We're going to need to bring in the painter's tape so we can actually trim out just the front of this clock, okay? I did not want to paint the whole clock white. I just wanted to do the front so we could decoupage it, giving it a nice clean background. If you're struggling with taping something that it's not actually straight, just a little tip, you can tear the painter's tape and do section by section, and it really does line up perfectly. And in case you're wondering why I'm using chalk paint over acrylic paint, it just eliminates the amount of layers and gives a better coverage. Plus, if you feel like you want it to be smoother, you can sand down chalk paint. Acrylic paint, not so much. Next, we're attaching our little shelf piece to the big piece of wood right on the top, and I left that bare so this way that wood glue went right into our bare natural wood. And then I'm gonna bring in the stapler so we can pop a couple staples right in the back here. And of course, the amount of staples you use is entirely up to you. I did 3. Well, I technically did 4 because that middle sucker did not go in there very evenly, so you know, I had to go back and adjust. And so I have warm fuzzies because I plan on selling this in my vendor space. I am going to clamp this sucker right on down and let it dry overnight. While that's drying, we're going to go ahead and decoupage the front of our clock. And I do want to let you know that anytime you take painter's tape and line up something to trim it off, if you remove that painter's tape and it's uneven, don't be afraid to take more painter's tape to make an adjusted line and then repaint over it so it is even. I hope that makes sense. Here is our beautiful napkin we're going to be using. I only have a couple of these left. Most of these got sold in most of my napkin bundles that I had, and I am lucky enough to have just a few left. So I wanted to put this right on the clock and right in the center so we could use that beautiful sunflower cluster here. So I'm just lining it up, and then I'm folding the napkin back up and just cutting a little tiny hole right in that corner. For our decoupage portion, I like to say less is more whenever you're decoupaging a napkin onto anything. And I usually go little section by little section, and I knew it was going to be difficult with this piece because I had the hole in the center of the napkin. So I made the judgment to just do half a napkin on one side and then half the other. And for those of you that are just like, Brandi, why don't you just smear Mod Podge all over the whole thing? I have found that with my experience of doing this, whenever I put a lot of Mod Podge, because I use such a thin amount with napkins, it will dry. And then I will have sections of the napkin that do not attach well. So I like to do it little by little, and if I use too much in certain sections, then we'll have clumps, and when I am trying to press down to apply the napkin to make sure it is secure onto our project, it will tear. So I did half the top napkin and used a little bit of cling wrap and gently pressed down on our piece, and did the same thing at the bottom and gently pressed down onto the piece. And I allowed this to completely dry before I came in with a high grit sandpaper. Because this is metal, I didn't want to use an 80 grit. I used a 400 grit to take off the edges. Now it's the next day and our piece is all dried up. So we're going to need to attach our hangers, which I'm going to use these sawtooth metal hammer and hangers. These are my favorites. Once these are in place, we're gonna take little screws to screw in our nice rustic looking hook. So we're gonna need to bring in our drill, and it goes without saying that if you're using a thin piece of wood like this, you know, it's a little 1-inch joint, you're gonna want to make sure that whatever screws or nails you're using are short so they don't pop through the back hole. Okay, just a little reminder. I know you guys need help remembering things. So do I. I got your back. Okay, I got your back. At this point in the project, I still wasn't sure if the clock actually worked. You know what I'm saying? And you could leave it like this. It's gorgeous just like that. I'm not going to. Shocker. I had these stamps from Dollar Tree and I just grabbed 4 of them. I put one at 12, one at 3, one at 6, and one at 9. And I sealed over it once the stamps completely dried. Unfortunately, the clock does not work, even with a new battery in it. However, it still makes for a gorgeous wall decor piece, and it serves as a nice little spot to add a couple little decor pieces right on top. This video is part of the Makeover May playlist series that I host every year on my channel, where we have new creators come in and new themes to give you thrifting inspiration, and hopefully you meet some new content creators that you enjoy. We are giving back to the community by giving away a $100 electronic Amazon gift card this month, and if you're interested in a chance to win that, here's how you can do that. Each content creator that has been participating in the playlist has been giving out code words. All the videos are listed in the playlist down in the description box, so if you've missed the video, go check that out. There are 11 total words for you to be able to collect. On May 27th, I'm going to put this post on my community tab. If you have collected all 11 code words, put yes down in the comments responding to this community post. Anyone that's interested in a chance to win will have until June 1st to get their comment in there. The randomly selected winner will be announced June 2nd in those very comments, and they will have to email me all the code words. And I do want to address that I know the terms of this giveaway are a little extensive. However, we have been dealing with scammers and we are trying to eliminate some of that so we don't have to stop doing giveaways. I paid $1.99 each for both of these little glass mugs, that's what I'm going to call them, from my local community aid store. And we're going to give them a nice cleaning first before we get to painting, just to make sure that we don't have any gooky stuff, and wear some gloves so we don't get fingerprints and, you know, the oil from our skins on the glass between that and our, you know, paint. It's going to make everything stick so much better. And I do want to add, be mindful the type of paint that you choose to use whenever you are painting glass. A lot of times on the back, it will tell you what the uses are for. And I preferably like to use chalk paint along with a multi-surface paint. Recently, I've discovered that works really, really well. Since these little glass pieces had a bunch of divots, I thought it would be a great idea to just take 3 different colors and kind of spread them out, alternating different little boxes. There really wasn't no rhyme or reason to the boxes that I chose for the colors I chose. I just wung it, really. Here is our first coat, and for the second coat, I am going the opposite direction that I painted the first coat. This is just going to give us a better coverage. I applied 2 full coats to this, let them dry, and then came one in with our white chalk paint. I went around the edge and around the top and around the handle, very heavy, and did 3 layers of the white chalk paint. Once the edges were pretty much dry, I came one in with a chippy brush, and I loaded a little bit of paint on it and then offloaded it to be able to do a dry brushing. And I'm just going to go up from the top and, or down from the top and up from the back and forth. I went back and forth between the top and the bottom, covering over our little gaps that we had going on here. And this is really just tying the whole piece together so it don't look like we have a bunch of little splotchy color pieces everywhere. The white just brings it all together. We're going to take some of this Dixie Belle Gilding Wax. If you do not have this, you could use a shiny colored paint. That would work as well. I'm putting a little on my finger and just going over all the little raised sections, the handle, and I am leaving the top part white. Love how these little pieces came out, and I filled them with some Dollar Tree florals and some of that Dollar Tree mesh I really like. People, if I'm being honest, this piece looked like a giant ashtray to me with the little divots around the edges. Now, I know that an ashtray wouldn't have holes in the center, but still, you gotta admit, kind of resembles it a little bit. We're gonna use this chalk paint and this granite gray acrylic paint to give us just a little bit of a grayish tone. I think I watched that little ASMR section like 10 times. I just like the sound of that anyhow. If you don't, my bad. But for those of you that do, you're welcome. You know I got your back. We're going to bring in a crusty bit paintbrush to give us a little bit, like I said, we're going to kind of do a whitewash. We're going to put a little bit of that chalk paint on here, and we're going to just go over our piece. Long strides, and then we're going to bring in our spray bottle and spritz little sections. You want to do this while your paint is wet, and then you can take the paint, the dry paint that's already on the brush, and kind of just smoosh it around. And then you can take a paper towel or a microfiber cloth and wipe it on back, and it's just going to give a really beautiful blended look. I decided to seal this piece up before I added our floral piece in our little hanger, just to make sure that any of the little bits from the florals that dropped down didn't get stuck in our paint before we sealed it. For the hanger piece, we're going to use some Dollar Tree nautical rope and some tacky glue and a little bit of hot glue for a quick hold. To attach this, I'm dabbing a little bit of tacky glue, leaving a space for the hot glue, dabbing a little bit of tacky glue, leaving a space for the hot glue. And I did that and measured that off camera so I didn't bore you guys to death. I didn't want you snoring on me. And then I'm just attaching it until I'm happy with the length. I leave enough of the nautical rope to give us a little bit of a handle piece. And then I mark on the other side where I want to start gluing and then attach the rest of the piece. Look at that. It doesn't look like an ashtray anymore. I really like how this looks just like that, you know, but we're going to add some florals. Hi, my name is Brandi. I am florally challenged, but that's not going to stop me. I picked this stuff up at Dollar Tree recently, and I knew I was going to use this garland for this, and the rest of the stuff I wasn't sure of, but I figured I would figure it out as we rolled along. I did take some tacky glue and a couple of staples to really attach this and hold it into place. I did add a little ribbon in there. That's right, I went out of my comfort zone with the ribbon as well, and I love how this piece turned out. It's absolutely stunning. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this piece. As always, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed these beautiful upcycles, and until next time, bye!